The message came on a Tuesday. All screens on Earth showed the same strange face. It had gray skin, large black eyes, and no hair. The voice spoke in perfect English. People of Earth, we are the Nivect Empire. We have watched your world for many years. Now we come to see if you deserve a place among the stars. Captain Jum Kim stood in the United Earth Defense Force Command Center, watching the aliens' cold eyes. Around him, generals and world leaders looked worried. "They're not asking," said General Han. "They're telling us they're coming." Jun nodded. He was 34, with short black hair and strong shoulders from years of military training. As the head of First Contact Protocol, this would be his problem now. "What do our spy satellites tell us?" Jun asked. Admiral Cho clicked a button, showing images of massive ships in orbit around Mars. They arrived 3 days ago. Their technology is beyond anything we have. "And their message?" asked Jun. "We've translated more of their data packet," said Dr. Park, the lead linguist. "The Nivect have conquered 12 other worlds. They only respect strength. Weak species are put to work." The room fell silent. "Captain Kim," said General Han, "you'll lead our meeting team. You have 2 weeks to prepare." Jun bowed slightly. "Yes, sir." 3 days later, Jun drove his car down the country road to his family home. Rice fields stretched out on both sides. Mountains rose in the distance. This was the Korea he loved. Peaceful, green, far from politics and alien threats. His family had raised military dogs here for 5 generations. If Earth needed to show strength, Jun had an idea. The car stopped by a large wooden house with a training yard beside it. Before Jun could open his door, a tan-colored dog with pointed ears and a curled tail jumped against the window, barking happily. "Doza," Jun said, smiling as he got out. The Korean Jindo dog jumped up, placing her paws on his chest. Jun rubbed her ears. "I missed you too, girl." His father walked from the house, gray-haired but still standing straight. "So the aliens are coming," his father said. "Not a question." "Yes, they want to test us." His father nodded. "And you came for the dogs." Jun walked with his father toward the training yard, where 20 dogs of different breeds, German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, and Korean Jindos, worked through obstacle courses or practiced commands with their handlers. "The Nivect value power," Jun explained. "They'll bring weapons and technology to impress us, to scare us. And you'll show them dogs." His father raised an eyebrow. Jun watched as Doza ran ahead, jumping a 6-foot wall with ease. "I'll show them partnership, something they might not understand." That night, Jun sat on the porch, looking at the stars. Doza lay beside him, her head on his lap. Somewhere up there, the aliens were coming. They had engineered creatures, perfect killing machines made in labs. That's what the intelligence reports said. Jun remembered raising Doza from a puppy. The months of training, the trust built day by day, the mistakes and successes. She had saved his life twice during his military service. His phone buzzed. A message from command. The Nivect ships had passed the moon. They would arrive tomorrow. "Ready for a new mission, girl?" Jun asked. Doza lifted her head, eyes alert and trusting. "We're going to show some aliens what Earth dogs can do." As he packed his gear the next morning, Jun thought about the coming meeting. The Nivect expected to find a weak species ready to surrender. They would learn that on Earth, strength came from bonds built over time, not from labs. The aliens had engineered their war beasts, but Earth had raised theirs. And that made all the difference. The Nivect ship landed in an open field outside Seoul. It was huge and black, shaped like a knife blade. Soldiers and tanks surrounded the area, but everyone knew Earth's weapons would be useless if the aliens attacked. Jun stood at the front of the welcome party. Beside him were General Han, 3 world leaders, and 2 handlers with their military dogs. Doza sat calmly at Jun's side, watching the ship. With a hiss, A door opened in the ship's side. 4 tall aliens walked out. They wore armor that seemed to move like water. The leaders stepped forward, at least 7 feet tall with gray skin that had blue markings. "I am Commander Vress of the Nivect Empire," the alien stated. Its voice was deep but clearly artificial, coming from a translator device. "We come to evaluate Earth's potential." June bowed slightly. "I am Captain June Kim. Earth welcomes peaceful visitors." Commander Vress looked down at Dosa, then at the other dogs. "You bring animals to a first contact." "These are our partners," Jun said. The alien made a sound like rocks falling. Later, Jun would learn this was Nivect laughter. "Partners, with primitive beasts." Vress turned to the other aliens. "They think these creatures are worthy of notice." The Earth leaders looked uncomfortable. This was not going well. "Perhaps," said June carefully, "we could show you our different approaches." Commander Vress seemed interested. "Yes, a demonstration. We will show you what real war companions look like." 2 hours later, they all stood in a large military training field. The humans watched as the back of the alien ship opened. 2 handlers in special suits let out creatures that made everyone gasp. The beasts were twice the size of tigers, with 6 legs and skin like armor. Their heads had no eyes but many sensors. Metal parts were built into their bodies. They moved with perfect coordination, not making a single sound. "These are kiln racks," Commander Vress announced proudly. "Created in our genetic labs. Each costs more than your city to produce. They follow orders perfectly and fear nothing." To prove his point, one handler pressed a button on his wrist device. The nearest kiln rack jumped 30 feet into the air, flipped, and landed silently. Then it ran a circle around the field faster than any Earth animal could move. "Impressive," said General Han, trying to hide his worry. "Now," said Commander Vress with what seemed like a smile, "show us your best war beasts." June nodded to Minji Park, a Special Forces soldier. She stepped forward with her Belgian Malinois named Taeyang. "This is Taeyang," she said. "He has been my partner for 4 years." Commander Vress looked disappointed. "This small creature is your champion." Minji didn't answer. Instead, she gave a hand signal. Taeyang immediately ran to the obstacle course. He climbed walls, jumped gaps, and crawled under barbed wire. When he reached a door, he opened it with his paw. When he found a hidden package, he barked 3 times, the signal for explosives. "Good boy," Minji said when he returned. She gave him a small treat. Another handler, Ta Li, showed how his German shepherd could find people hidden in boxes by smell alone. The dog found all 5 test subjects in less than 2 minutes. Commander Vress watched without speaking. Then he pointed at Dosa. "And that one, what does it do?" June smiled. "Dosa has many skills, but her greatest strength is one you cannot see." "Explain," demanded Vress. "We do not engineer our dogs to be perfect. We raise them. We build trust. They choose to work with us." The commander made the rock-falling laugh again. "Choice. Trust. These are weaknesses. Our kiln racks obey without question." "Perhaps," said June. "But can they think for themselves when plans change? Can they love their handlers?" "Love is not needed in battle," said Commander Vress. "We will test these claims. Tomorrow, we will hold a true challenge between our war beasts." As the aliens returned to their ship, General Han whispered to June, "This is dangerous. Their creatures could kill our dogs easily." "Yes," June agreed, "but there are different kinds of strength." That night, Dosa slept at the foot of June's bed. He reached down to pet her head. "Tomorrow," he whispered, "we show them what Earth partnerships can do." The morning sun shone on the large testing ground. Earth leaders sat in one section, Nivect officials in another. Commander Vress stood tall, looking pleased with himself. "Today we will see which approach is better," he announced. "The test has 3 parts: intelligence, adaptability, and combat skills. June stood with Minji Park, Ta Li, and 3 other handlers. Their dogs sat quietly beside them. Across the field, 4 Nivect handlers prepared their kiln racks. The alien beasts were even more frightening in daylight. All muscle, armor, and built-in weapons. General Han whispered to June, "The President says this test might decide if the Nivect see us as equals or as targets. No pressure." June nodded. He knelt beside Dosa and rubbed her ears. "Ready, girl?" The first test was intelligence. The dogs and kiln racks had to solve puzzles to get rewards. The puzzles got harder each round. The kiln racks moved quickly and perfectly. When they saw a puzzle box, they would scan it with their sensors, then use their claws to open it in exactly the right way. They never made mistakes. "Our kiln racks are programmed with solutions to over 10,000 puzzle types," said Commander Fress proudly. The Earth dogs were slower but showed something different. When Taiyang couldn't open a box by pulling a rope, he tried pushing it with his nose instead. When Dosa faced a water barrier, she found a bridge no one had noticed. "Interesting," said a Nivect scientist named Kelf, watching closely. "They tried different approaches." "They think," said June. "They weren't programmed with answers." The second test was adaptability. The animals had to cross a field where things changed unexpectedly, ground that moved, doors that closed suddenly, and paths that disappeared. The kiln racks struggled. When something happened they hadn't seen before, they froze, waiting for commands from their handlers. The handlers had to use their wrist devices to update the kiln rack's instructions. The dogs adjusted on their own. When a bridge collapsed, Ta's German Shepherd swam across the water. When smoke filled an area, Dosa used her nose to find the way out. "Luck," said Commander Fress, but he looked less certain. The final test was combat skills. The animals would fight training robots, not each other. The kiln racks were amazing fighters. They used their claws, teeth, and even built-in electric shock weapons to destroy the robots quickly. One kiln rack took down 10 robots in 30 seconds. "Perfect killing machines," said Commander Fress. When it was the dogs' turn, they showed different skills. They didn't have the raw power of the kiln racks, but they worked perfectly with their handlers. Minji would point, and Taiyang would attack from that direction. Ta would whistle, and his dog would retreat to a safer position. Dosa's turn came last. The small tan dog faced 3 large robots. June gave no commands at all. "Your animal needs instructions," said Commander Fress. "Watch," said June. The robots charge. Dosa didn't attack directly. Instead, she led them toward each other, making them crash. When one robot cornered her, she jumped on its back, bit a wire, and jumped away. The robot started fighting another robot by mistake. "She's thinking ahead," said Kelf, the Nivect scientist, sounding surprised. In 2 minutes, all robots were down. Dosa returned to June's side, looking up for approval. He gave her a treat and praised her. "Your creatures performed adequately," said Commander Fress, "but they lack the power and perfect obedience of our kiln racks." "Maybe perfect obedience isn't always best," June replied. That evening, the Earth leaders met to discuss the day's events. "The Nivect aren't impressed," said General Han. "We need to show them something more." "We will," said June. "But first, they need to understand what makes our approach different." June didn't know that at that very moment, the curious Nivect scientist Kelf was watching Minji play with Taiyang after the tests, throwing a ball and laughing when the dog brought it back. "What is that behavior?" Kelf asked a human aide. "They're playing," the aide explained. "For fun." Fun? With a war beast? Kelf couldn't understand, but he wanted to. June found the Nivect scientist Kelf standing outside the dog training area early the next morning. The alien was watching Tai and his German Shepherd practice search patterns. "Good morning," said June, with Dosa at his side. Kelf turned. Unlike Commander Fress, this Nivect had softer blue markings on his gray skin. His black eyes seemed curious, not cold. "I do not understand," Kelth said, pointing to Ty and his dog. "The handler gives very few commands. How does the animal know what to do?" "They've trained together for years," June explained. "The dog learns what Ty wants by small signs, the way he stands, where he looks." "Like a program?" asked Kelth. "No, like a partnership." Kelth looked confused. "May I observe more closely?" June nodded. They walked into the training area. Dosa stayed close to June's left leg without being told to. "Your kiln racks are impressive," June said. "How are they made?" "We design their genetic code in computers," Kelth explained, sounding proud. "We select the best traits from 50 different species. Then we grow them in labs and install the mechanical parts." "How long does it take?" "From design to battle ready, about 2 years," said Kelth. June smiled. "Dosa and I have been together for 6 years." "Inefficient," said Kelth, but he sounded less certain. "Would you like to see how we train our dogs?" June offered. For the next hour, June showed Kelth how Earth dogs were trained. He started with puppies learning basic commands, then older dogs doing more complex tasks. Finally, he demonstrated advanced training with Dosa. "We don't program them," June explained. "We build trust over time." June remembered when he first met Dosa. She was a small puppy, only 8 weeks old. She had chewed his shoes and peed on his floor. He had spent months teaching her basic commands, rewarding good behavior with treats and praise. "It wasn't always easy," June told Kelth. "Dogs make mistakes. They have their own personalities." "Mistakes are unacceptable in kiln racks," said Kelth. "Defective units are destroyed. We don't destroy our dogs for making mistakes. We help them learn." Kelth watched as Minji worked with Taiyang on a complex task, finding a hidden person in a building and leading rescuers back to them. "May I try?" Kelth asked suddenly. June was surprised but nodded. He handed Kelth a treat and showed him how to hold his hand to give Dosa a simple command. "Sit," said Kelth. Dosa looked at the alien, then at June. June nodded slightly. Dosa sat. "Now give her the treat and say 'good girl,'" June instructed. Kelth did as told. His long gray fingers gently gave Dosa the treat. "Good girl," he said in his strange voice. Dosa wagged her tail. Kelth made a sound, not the harsh rock-falling laugh of Commander Vress, but something softer. "She responds to positive feedback," Kelth noted. "Our kiln racks only respond to commands." "Dogs want to please their handlers," said June. "They enjoy working with us." "Enjoy?" Kelth seemed puzzled again. Later that day, Commander Vress called a meeting. All the Earth representatives and Nivect officials gathered in a large room. "Tomorrow we will hold the final challenge," Vress announced. "A full combat simulation with all animals and handlers. This will decide if your species has useful skills for the Empire." Everyone knew what that meant. If Earth failed, they might become just another conquered world. As they left the meeting, Kelth approached June privately. "I have been studying your training methods," the scientist said. "There is something missing in our approach. Our kiln racks obey perfectly, but they cannot adapt without new programming." "That's the difference," said June. "You built perfect machines. We raised partners." "Partners," Kelth repeated, looking at Dosa. "I would like to learn more about this concept." June smiled. "Then let me tell you how dogs and humans have worked together for thousands of years." For the first time, June felt hope. If one Nivect could understand, maybe others could too. Night fell over the military base. Most people were asleep, preparing for tomorrow's final challenge. June stayed late in the command center, studying videos of the kiln racks from earlier tests. Dosa lay at his feet, seemingly asleep. Suddenly, her head lifted. Her ears moved forward. She stood up and growled softly toward the door. "What is it, girl?" June asked. Dosa's growl grew louder. June had never seen her act this way without reason. "Show me," he said. Dosa ran to the door. June followed her out into the dark hallway. Emergency lights cast long shadows on the walls. The base was quiet, too quiet. Dosa stopped, nose in the air. Then she took off running down the hall toward the housing area. June followed, pulling out his phone to call security. Before he could dial, he heard screams. Turning a corner, June saw the problem. A kiln rack was loose in the building. The massive six-legged beast was breaking down a door where people were hiding. 2 security guards lay on the floor, not moving. How did it get in here? June whispered. The kiln rack turned, sensing June. Its head had no eyes, but sensors glowed red in the dim light. It made a clicking sound and started moving toward him. Dosa stepped between June and the beast. She looked tiny compared to the alien creature, which was bigger than a tiger. Dosa, no, June yelled. Run. But Dosa didn't run. She barked loudly, then turned and ran down a different hallway. The kiln rack followed her, ignoring June. June chased after them, calling for help on his radio. He turned the corner and saw Dosa leading the kiln rack into the large gymnasium. She was drawing it away from the people. Smart girl, June thought. Inside the gym, Dosa darted between exercise machines. The kiln rack was faster but couldn't turn as quickly. It crashed into weights and equipment trying to catch her. Dosa jumped on top of a tall climbing wall. The kiln rack followed, using its powerful legs to leap up. But the wall wasn't built for such weight. It began to tip over. Dosa jumped clear just as the climbing wall fell on top of the kiln rack, pinning it down. The beast roared and struggled. It would break free soon. June ran to Dosa, who stood ready for the next move. Together, they worked without words. June pointed to a stack of heavy weights. Dosa understood. She ran behind the stack and pushed with her body while June pulled from the front. The weights toppled onto the kiln rack, trapping it further. Security forces arrived, along with Commander Vress and several Nivect handlers. The handlers used their wrist devices to send shutdown commands to the kiln rack. Who released this beast? Demanded General Hand, who had also arrived. An unfortunate accident, said Commander Vress, but his eyes showed he was lying. Kelth pushed through the crowd. This was no accident. The security systems were overridden. Someone wanted to test Earth's defenses. All eyes turned to Vress. Some of my officers may have been overzealous in their evaluation, Vress admitted. June knelt beside Dosa, checking her for injuries. She was tired but unhurt. Your animal protected you, Commander Vress said, sounding surprised. It could have escaped, but it stayed. She, corrected June, nodded. And yes, she stayed. That's what partners do. She put herself in danger, noted Vress. She made a choice, said June. Your kiln racks can't do that, can they? They only follow orders. Commander Vress stared at Dosa for a long moment. Then he looked at the kiln rack, now shut down and being removed by handlers. The beast followed its programming to attack all non-Nivect life forms, Kelth explained. It had no ability to choose targets or change plans. Tomorrow's challenge will proceed as planned, said Commander Vress. But his voice had changed, though perhaps I have underestimated some aspects of Earth's approach. As the crowd broke up, Minji and Ta came to check on Dosa. They'd brought water and treats for her. Your dog is a hero, said Minji, petting Dosa's head. More than that, said Kelth, who had stayed behind. She is a window into something we Nivect have forgotten. What's that? Asked June. That true strength comes not from control, said Kelth, but from choice. That night, June let Dosa sleep on his bed, not just at the foot of it. Tomorrow would bring the final test. But something had changed. Commander Vress had seen what Dosa could do, what partnership could do. For the first time, June felt they might actually have a chance. Morning came with new tension in the air. After breakfast, Kelth invited June to visit the Nivect ship. This was unusual. No humans had been allowed inside before. Commander Vress has approved this visit, Kelth explained. I want you to understand us better before the final challenge. June agreed, but asked, Can Dosa come too? Kelth hesitated, then nodded. Yes, I am curious to see how she behaves in our environment. The Nivek ship was cold and perfectly clean. The walls were smooth metal with strange blue lights. Everything looked exactly the same. No decorations, no personal items. This way, said Kelth, leading them to a large room filled with containers. Each container held a different creature floating in clear liquid. These are our past attempts, Kelth explained. We have been making war beasts for 500 years. June looked at the strange animals in the tanks. Some had too many legs. Others had huge claws or teeth. All looked wrong somehow. What happened to them? June asked. They failed testing, said Kelth simply. We keep improving the design. Dosa stayed close to June, clearly uncomfortable in this place. Next, Kelth showed them a room with big screens showing DNA patterns and body designs. 3 Nivek scientists worked at control panels. This is where we design the next generation of Kilnraks, said Kelth. We can change anything. Strength, speed, obedience. What about friendship? June asked. Can you program that? Kelth made a small clicking sound. We never saw a need for it. They continued walking through the ship. In a large room, they saw Nivek handlers with their Kilnraks. The handlers wore special helmets connected to computers. What are those helmets for? Asked June. Neural interface, Kelth explained. The handlers must connect directly to control the Kilnraks. So the Kilnraks don't actually think for themselves at all. June was surprised. Of course not, said Kelth. That would be dangerous. They follow the neural commands exactly. The handler's brain controls the beast's actions. That's not partnership, said June. That's just remote control. Meanwhile, on the Earth base, Minji was working with Taiyang on speed drills. A young Nivek scientist was watching them. When they finished, Minji gave Taiyang a drink of water and sat down to rest. Your animal looks tired, said the Nivek. He worked hard, said Minji. We both did. If a Kilnrak shows weakness, it is replaced, said the alien. Minji frowned. Taiyang isn't weak. He just needs rest, like any living thing. Nearby, Tai was helping his German shepherd cool down after training. The dog suddenly lifted its head and walked over to the Nivek scientist, who stepped back in alarm. Don't worry, said Tai. He's just curious. The German shepherd sniffed the alien, then sat down beside him. After a moment of hesitation, the Nivek reached down to touch the dog's head. It's soft, the alien said, sounding surprised. On the Nivek ship, Kelth showed June one last room. This one had images of planets and star maps. These are the worlds we have visited, Kelth explained. The red ones refused to join the Empire. The blue ones joined willingly. June noticed something. There are more red ones than blue. Yes, said Kelth quietly. Many species resist at first. And what happens to them? Kelth didn't answer directly. Our way has always been to control. We control our environment, our bodies, our war beasts. It has made us strong. But maybe not adaptable, suggested June. Kelth looked at Dosa, who had stayed calm throughout the tour. Your dog, Kelth said. She is not controlled by a neural interface. How do you know she will do what you need in battle? I don't always know, admitted June. But I trust her to make good choices. Trust, repeated Kelth. This is a concept we struggle with. As they left the ship, June saw Commander Vress watching them from a distance. The final challenge begins in 1 hour, Kelth said. It will be more difficult than you expect. We'll be ready, said June, patting Dosa's head. I hope so, said Kelth. For all our sakes. Walking back to the Earth base, June thought about what he had learned. The Nivek didn't understand partnership because they only valued control. Their Kilnraks were just tools, not companions. We have something they don't. Joan told Dosa. Let's go show them. Everyone gathered at a huge training field that the Nivekt had changed overnight. Now it looked like a small city with buildings, roads, and many hiding places. Smoke machines created fog in some areas. Loud sounds played from speakers. This is our final challenge, announced Commander Vress. A real combat situation. Each team must find and capture 5 flags hidden in the city. They must also avoid robot enemies and traps. 6 Nivekt handlers stood with their kiln racks. They wore their neural interface helmets, ready to control their beasts. The kiln racks looked eager for battle, their 6 legs moving restlessly. On the Earth side, Jun, Minji, Tai, and 3 other handlers prepared with their dogs. They checked equipment and gave their dogs water. The dogs seemed calm but alert. One more thing, said Commander Vress with a smile that didn't look friendly. Communications will be jammed during the test. No radios or phones. The Earth handlers looked worried. Jun knew why. They relied on voice commands and hand signals with their dogs. But your neural interfaces will still work? Jun asked the Nivekt. Of course, said Commander Vress. That is direct brain-to-brain control, not communication. Kelf approached Jun before they started. Be careful, he said quietly. Vress has added some unexpected elements to the test. Thanks for the warning, said Jun. He knelt beside Dosa. Stay close to me, girl. Watch for signals. The test began with a loud horn. Both teams entered the fake city from different sides. The Nivekt team moved fast, their kiln racks running ahead to scout. The Earth team moved more carefully, dogs sniffing the air for clues. Taz's German Shepherd found the first flag hidden inside a building. He barked once to signal his handler. At the same time, a kiln rack found a flag on the other side of the city. Suddenly, robot enemies appeared from hiding places. They rolled on wheels and shot harmless paint bullets. The kiln racks attacked them head-on, using their strength to smash the robots. The Earth dogs used different tactics. They led the robots into narrow places where they got stuck. They worked with their handlers to set traps using ropes and boxes. Minji and Taiyang found the second flag for Earth's team. As they were returning, a loud explosion shook the ground. Part of a building collapsed, blocking their path. This wasn't in the plan, Minji said to herself. She gave Taiyang hand signals to find another way around. In the control center above the field, Earth and Nivekt leaders watched screens showing the action. General Han looked worried. Those explosions are too real, he said. Commander Vress wants a true test, said a Nivekt official. Back in the test area, Jun and Dosa had found the third flag when the jamming started. All sounds became fuzzy static. Jun couldn't hear anything clearly. He looked at the Nivekt team across the field. The kiln racks were moving strangely now, sometimes stopping or going in circles. The neural interfaces were affected by the jamming too. This is our chance, Jun told Dosa, using hand signals to direct her. They moved toward the fourth flag location. One of the kiln racks broke free from its confused handler. With no control, it went wild, attacking everything around it. It smashed through a wall toward Minji and Taiyang. Jun saw the danger. He tried to call out, but the jamming blocked his voice. He signaled to Dosa to get Minji's attention, but Dosa had already started running toward the danger. The kiln rack cornered Minji against a wall. Taiyang barked and jumped in front of her, but he was too small to stop the alien beast. Dosa reached them and barked loudly, drawing the kiln rack's attention. It turned to chase her instead. Jun signaled for Dosa to come back, pointing to a safe spot, but Dosa ignored the command. Instead, she led the kiln rack toward a Nivekt handler who had fallen and was trapped under debris. She's disobeying me, Jun realized. She's saving the Nivekt. Dosa barked at the fallen alien, then at the approaching kiln rack. The message was clear. She was protecting the injured Nivekt from the out-of-control kiln rack. In the control center, everyone watched in shock. The Earth animal is defending our handler, said a Nivekt official. but it received no command to do so. "That's the point," said General Han. She chose to help. The jamming suddenly stopped. Commander Vress stood up. "End the test," he ordered. "I have seen enough." All teams were called back from the test field. The Nivect handler that Dosa had protected was taken to medical care. His injuries were not serious thanks to the dog's warning. Commander Vress called for a meeting in the large conference room. Earth leaders sat on one side, Nivect officials on the other. The handlers and their animals waited outside. Kelf stood at the front of the room with many screens showing data from the tests. He looked nervous, which was unusual for a Nivect. "I have studied the Earth animals and their handlers," Kelf began. "I believe we have misunderstood something important." Commander Vress nodded for him to continue. "Our Kilnraks are physically superior in every way," Kelf said, showing charts of strength, speed, and durability. "We designed them to be perfect fighting machines." Everyone nodded. This was obvious. But we missed something. Kelf changed the screen to show videos of the dogs working with their handlers. "The Earth animals have abilities we did not consider important." "What abilities?" asked Commander Vress. "They can think independently. They can make decisions. And most importantly, they care about their handlers." "Care?" Vress made the rock-falling laugh, but it was quieter than before. "How is that useful in battle?" General Han spoke up. "It means they fight not because they must, but because they choose to. They protect us because of bonds, not programming." Kelf showed the video of Dosa protecting the fallen Nivect handler. "This dog had no reason to help our handler. She received no command to do so. Yet she chose to place herself in danger to protect him," Kelf said. "No Kilnrak would ever do this without direct orders." Jun was invited into the room. Dosa followed at his side. "Captain Kim," said Commander Vress, "your animal disobeyed your signal to return to safety. In our military, disobedience means destruction of the unit. How do you respond?" Jun looked down at Dosa with pride. "She made a better choice than I did. I wanted her safe. She wanted everyone safe. That's not a flaw. It's wisdom." "But you cannot control her completely," argued Vress. "No, and I wouldn't want to," said Jun. "Perfect control means limited thinking. Our approach gives dogs room to use their own judgment." Kelf showed more data. "We engineer our Kilnraks for physical perfection, but the humans have balanced physical abilities with mental and emotional development." "Emotional?" A Nivect official sounded surprised. "Yes," said Kelf. "The bond between human and dog creates something new, a partnership that is stronger than either alone." Minji and Tai were brought in with their dogs. They showed how they could communicate with just small movements, how the dogs understood not just commands but intentions. "We have been training dogs for thousands of years," explained Jun. "Not by changing their genes, but by working with their natural abilities. Dogs want to be with us. They enjoy helping us." "Enjoy?" Commander Vress seemed confused by this idea. "Yes," said Jun. "The relationship works both ways. We care for them. They care for us." Ta demonstrated this by pretending to be hurt. His German shepherd immediately came to check on him, licking his face with concern. "We could make genetically perfect dogs," Jun continued. "We have the technology. But we choose not to, because what makes dogs special isn't perfect bodies, it's their hearts." Commander Vress was quiet for a long time. Finally, he turned to the other Nivect officials. "I believe we have reached a limitation in our approach," he admitted. "For 500 years, we have pursued physical perfection in our war beasts, but we have ignored these emotional factors. The dogs can make moral choices," Kelf added. "They can decide who needs protection, when to obey and when to think differently. Our Kilnraks cannot." The meeting continued for hours as the Nivect asked questions about training, about the history of dogs and humans, about how trust was built. At the end, Commander Vress stood. "We must reconsider our evaluation of Earth," he announced. There is more here to learn than we expected. As they left the meeting, Kelf stopped June. Your Dosa has taught us something important today, the alien scientist said. Perhaps there are other ways to be strong beyond what we had imagined. June nodded. That's the thing about raising partners instead of engineering servants. They surprise you with what they become.